Have you ever felt that surge of motivation? Maybe after watching a video, reading a quote, or listening to someone amazing, only to watch it fade in hours, sometimes minutes. That's the problem. Motivation alone is a spark. It excites, it teases action, but it rarely carries you through. The truth is, waiting to feel motivated is like waiting for the wind to blow before you decide to sail. Real progress doesn't come from fleeting feelings. It comes from clarity. It comes from action. It comes from showing up again and again, even when the energy isn't there, even when the excitement has disappeared. Today, we're going to break down exactly why motivation fails and reveal what actually creates unstoppable action. By the end of this, you won't just feel inspired, you'll know exactly how to move forward, no matter how you feel right now. Have you ever noticed how motivation feels almost magical in the moment? You wake up, you read a powerful quote, watch a video, or listen to someone speak, and suddenly, for just a brief moment, you feel unstoppable. You feel ready to conquer the world, to take action, to change your life. Your mind races with possibilities. You imagine everything you could accomplish if you just held on to this feeling forever. But then something happens. Hours pass, days pass, and suddenly that initial surge, the rush, the excitement, I've got this energy starts to fade. And what do? You find yourself back where you started, feeling frustrated, confused, and questioning why, despite all the motivation in the world, you haven't made the progress you wanted. Here's the first truth that many people don't want to hear: motivation is fleeting. Motivation is not a dependable fuel source for long-term success. It's a spark, not a fire. It comes in bursts, it comes in waves, and it vanishes just as quickly as it arrives. This is not your fault. It's human nature. Our brains are wired to seek novelty, excitement, and pleasure, and motivation often arrives in exactly that form. It's a rush of dopamine, a temporary feeling of possibility. But our brains are also designed to return to comfort, to routine, and to the familiar. That initial high energy is simply not sustainable without a system, a plan, or action backing it up. Let me give you an example. Imagine waking up one morning and feeling incredibly motivated to finally write that book, start that business, or commit to that workout routine. You feel the fire, your heart beats faster, your mind races with ideas, and for a few hours, it feels like nothing can stop you. You imagine the version of yourself who has accomplished all these things, the one who wakes up every day energized and fulfilled. You're inspired, you're pumped. But then life happens. A call interrupts you, an email distracts you, fatigue creeps in, or doubt whispers in your ear. That fire begins to fade, the clarity becomes foggy, the inspiration disappears. And now you're left thinking, why didn't I follow through? The reality is, relying solely on motivation is like trying to power a car with lightning. It's electric and exciting in the moment, but it won't get you very far on its own. Motivation is not sustainable because it is inherently emotional and reactive. It reacts to what you see, what you hear, and what you feel at a given moment. That means it's external and unpredictable. One day you might wake up feeling inspired, the next day drained and uncertain. Motivation doesn't wait for you. It doesn't show up on the schedule. It is not consistent, and it cannot be counted on as the engine of change. Here's why so many people fail in their goals. They chase motivation like it's a destination. They think, if I can just feel motivated, I'll be able to accomplish anything. But that's the trap. Motivation is not something to wait for. It's not a prerequisite. It's a fleeting signal, a temporary state that can ignite action but cannot sustain it. True progress comes when you stop waiting for motivation to arrive and instead take action regardless of how you feel. Motivation can give you a jumpstart, but it is action, clarity, and systems that keep you moving forward over the long term. Another reason motivation is fleeting is that it's often tied to fantasy rather than reality. Think about it. When you feel motivated, your brain is imagining the ideal outcome. You're picturing the perfect version of yourself, the end result, the dream life, or the goal achieved. That feeling is intoxicating because it is aspirational. It's what your mind wants to experience. But as soon as you encounter real-world obstacles, fatigue, fear, or discomfort, that motivational high crashes. Your brain doesn't enjoy struggle. It doesn't want discomfort. That's why relying on the feeling of motivation alone is like building a house on sand. When the tide of reality comes in, the foundation shifts. I want you to understand something very clearly. This does not mean motivation is useless. Motivation is valuable. It's beautiful. It can light a fire inside you, create excitement, and make action feel urgent. It's the spark that reminds you why your goals matter, the emotional nudge that can start the engine of progress. But here's the critical distinction: motivation is temporary. You cannot build your life, your habits, or your dreams solely on temporary feelings. If you do, you're setting yourself up for frustration, disappointment, and burnout. So how do you work with motivation instead of against it? You learn to see it as a tool, not a crutch. Think of motivation like a gust of wind. It can help propel your sailboat forward, but it cannot steer the ship. Your actions, your habits, your systems, your commitments, that's what steers the ship. That's what ensures progress, even when motivation is absent. When you understand that motivation is fleeting, you start to shift your focus from, I need to feel inspired to act, to I act, and inspiration may come later. This is the mindset shift that separates dreamers from doers. Here's a practical example. Let's say you want to get in shape. You might feel motivated on Monday morning and start running, hitting the gym, or doing your workouts. But by Wednesday, you're tired, sore, distracted. That initial surge of motivation has faded. Most people give up, but a high performer doesn't rely on motivation. They rely on a plan and a system. They show up because they have committed to the process, not because they feel inspired in the moment. They know that action breeds emotion, not the other way around. By showing up consistently, they create momentum that even the strongest motivational high cannot match. The science behind this is clear. Motivation triggers dopamine release in the brain. It gives a temporary sense of pleasure, anticipation, and energy. But dopamine spikes are short-lived. Without follow-up action, without habits, without consistency, that energy dissipates, leaving you wanting more but unable to sustain it. That's why so many people chase the thrill of motivation but never reach their potential. They wait for a feeling that will always come and go. Here's the empowering truth. You do not need motivation to act. You only need clarity, commitment, and the courage to take the first step. You only need to start, even when the fire isn't burning, even when you don't feel ready. Motivation is a gift when it appears, but the real power lies in the action that occurs independent of feelings. That's where true transformation begins. When you accept that motivation is fleeting, you stop judging yourself for feeling unmotivated. You stop feeling guilty when the initial excitement fades. Instead, you begin to focus on what matters, creating systems, building habits, and showing up consistently. You understand that progress is not a feeling, it's a choice. And when you act consistently, guess what? Motivation often returns, not as a fleeting spike, but as a byproduct of your action. Energy follows behavior. Confidence follows discipline. Momentum follows clarity. So remember this the next time you feel a rush of inspiration, savor it, but don't rely on it. Let it ignite you. Let it remind you why you started, but then act even when the feeling is gone. That's how high performers operate. That's how extraordinary lives are built. That's how the impossible becomes possible. Have you ever caught yourself waiting to feel ready before taking action? Maybe you've said, I'll start tomorrow when I feel more motivated, or I need to get in the right mindset first. You're not alone. This is something everyone experiences. But here's the fundamental truth. Waiting to feel inspired, confident, or ready is the fastest way to stay stuck. Action precedes emotion. Action is not a product of motivation or feeling. It is the engine that generates both energy and clarity. The moment you start, the feelings follow. Think about it. How many times have you noticed that once you begin a task, a project, or even a small habit, suddenly your energy rises? Suddenly you feel focused. Suddenly you feel motivated. That surge doesn't happen before you act. It happens because you acted. Emotion is not the starting point. It is the reward, the feedback, the byproduct of movement. And understanding this is a game changer. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine someone who wants to write a book. They sit down at their desk, waiting for the right mood, waiting for inspiration to strike. Hours go by, maybe even days or weeks, and nothing happens. They wait for the feeling, thinking that the perfect emotional state will magically appear. But it doesn't. What has happened is that anxiety builds, doubt creeps in, and procrastination becomes stronger. The longer you wait for emotion to arrive, the more trapped you feel. Now imagine a different scenario. The same person decides to write just one paragraph, even though they don't feel motivated, even though the ideas aren't perfect, even though the inspiration hasn't shown up. They take action. And as soon as they begin typing, ideas flow. Thoughts clarify. The blank page becomes less intimidating. The initial action unlocks focus and energy, and suddenly the motivation they were waiting for appears. Action creates emotion. It always has, it always will. This principle applies to everything in life, your career, your health, your relationships, your personal growth. Waiting for the right feeling is a trap because feelings are reactive, not proactive. They respond to what you do, not the other way around. Motivation spikes when we take deliberate steps toward a goal, when we move in the direction of our dreams, when we create forward momentum. That's why so many people who are waiting to feel ready end up watching the years slip by without making meaningful progress. Think about athletes, performers, and high achievers. Do they wait until they feel like training, rehearsing, or performing? Absolutely not. They show up consistently day after day, whether they feel it or not. They understand that action builds the emotional state required for excellence. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a consequence. Courage is not something you summon perfectly. It is cultivated through repeated action. Momentum is not magic. It is built step by step. Now, here's the practical truth. Action is simple, but not always easy. It requires courage, commitment, and discipline. It's easy to sit and wait, to dream, and to plan. But taking the first step requires confronting discomfort, fear, and uncertainty. That's why so few people experience sustained success. They overestimate the power of feeling ready and underestimate the power of showing up. The reality is that you don't need to feel prepared. You need to start moving. One of the reasons action precedes emotion is that the human brain responds to progress. Even tiny wins trigger positive neurochemical feedback that reinforces behavior. The moment you take a step, your brain rewards you with dopamine, the feel-good chemical, which in turn creates motivation, confidence, and energy. In other words, you generate your own motivation by acting rather than waiting for it to magically appear. The process is simple but profound. Move first, feel later. Let's take a closer look at a real-world example. Imagine someone struggling to start a fitness routine. They sit on the couch thinking, I'll work out when I feel motivated. The day passes, no exercise happens, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, the same cycle repeats. Now, compare that to someone who decides, I don't feel like it, but I'm putting on my shoes and walking for 10 minutes. That small action triggers a cascade of energy, clarity, and focus. After just a few minutes, they're more likely to extend the workout, push harder, and feel the very motivation they thought they needed in the first place. Action sparks emotion. Action fuels momentum. This principle also works in your career or business. How often do people wait to feel ready before starting a project, pitching an idea, or sending a proposal? The fear of failure, the anxiety about not feeling good enough, or the desire for the perfect moment paralyzes them. But high performers don't wait. They take action in imperfect conditions. They test, iterate, learn, and adjust. And as they move, they gain clarity, confidence, and momentum. The emotional state they were waiting for emerges naturally through doing. There's a deeper lesson here too. Waiting for motivation or emotion before acting is often a form of self-protection. The mind is wired to avoid risk, discomfort, and failure. So it manufactures excuses. I'll do it tomorrow. I need to feel ready first. I'm just not inspired yet. But these are illusions. They are barriers disguised as logic. The truth is that taking action, even when you feel fear or doubt, is the only reliable path to growth, transformation, and fulfillment. Action doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to begin. You can start small, take the tiniest step, and the results will compound. One paragraph written, one email sent, one step taken toward your goal. These small actions create a feedback loop. Each step reinforces belief in your abilities, strengthens your discipline, and ignites the energy you initially thought was missing. The moment you start, your brain stops waiting for an external trigger. It begins responding to the movement you've already created. Here's a simple framework to put this into practice in your daily life. Decide, act, adjust. Decide what needs to be done. Take action immediately, even if you don't feel ready. Adjust as you go, learn from feedback, and keep moving. By making action the starting point, you create a habit of forward momentum. You stop waiting for fleeting feelings and start building a life based on deliberate, consistent movement. The power of this principle cannot be overstated. When you truly internalize that action precedes emotion, you stop giving your feelings too much power over your life. You stop waiting for permission from your own brain to succeed. You stop relying on fleeting bursts of inspiration to achieve your goals. Instead, you become proactive, deliberate, and unstoppable. You understand that the feeling of motivation is not the starting line, it's a checkpoint that emerges naturally along the journey. And the beauty of this is that it works in every area of life. Relationships improve when you take action to connect rather than wait for the perfect mood. Health transforms when you move, eat, and train consistently rather than waiting for a surge of inspiration. Careers advance when you take the first step, pitch the idea, or start the project, even in uncertainty. Personal growth accelerates when you act, experiment, and show up daily. In every case, emotion follows action, not the other way around. So the next time you catch yourself waiting to feel ready, remember this: you don't need to wait. You don't need permission. You don't need the perfect emotional state. The most powerful, transformative force in your life is your willingness to act. And the moment you begin, clarity emerges, momentum builds, and motivation shows up, not before, but because of your action. Have you ever felt like you were running in circles, like you were moving, taking steps, putting in effort, but at the end of the day, nothing seemed to stick, nothing seemed to progress, and the frustration just built up? That feeling of spinning your wheels, no matter how hard you try, often comes down to one thing: lack of clarity. Clarity fuels momentum. Without it, action is scattered, decisions are delayed, and progress becomes slow, inconsistent, and exhausting. But when you have clarity, when you know exactly what you want, why you want it, and how to get there, momentum becomes almost automatic. Clarity is not just about having a vague goal or a broad vision. Saying, I want to be successful or I want to get fit, that's hope, not clarity. True clarity is precise, it's measurable, it's actionable. It answers three key questions. What exactly do I want? Why does it matter to me? And what is the next right step I must take? When these three questions are crystal clear, your energy aligns, your decisions simplify, and momentum naturally accelerates. Think about this for a moment. Imagine trying to drive across a city without a GPS, without a map, without knowing exactly where you are going. You might start moving. You might take some streets that feel right, but every turn, every stoplight, every wrong street drains your energy. Hours pass, frustration builds, and you feel exhausted, yet somehow still far from your destination. Now imagine turning on the GPS, seeing exactly where you need to go, and following clear directions step by step. Suddenly, every turn feels purposeful. Every mile builds progress. Momentum grows naturally, and even obstacles feel manageable. Clarity acts like that GPS for your life. High performers understand this principle deeply. They don't just act blindly and hope for results. They are deliberate. They know where they are going, why they are going there, and the precise actions required to get there. And here's the key insight: clarity itself generates energy. When you are clear, your brain stops wasting resources on confusion, doubt, and indecision. Instead, it channels focus, confidence, and drive into action. That focused energy multiplies, creating unstoppable momentum. Let me give you a real-world example. Think about someone trying to build a business. Without clarity, they might be all over the place, dabbling in different markets, experimenting with random strategies, responding to every trend or shiny opportunity that comes their way. They're busy, but busy isn't the same as productive. Confusion breeds hesitation. Hesitation drains energy, and eventually momentum dies. Now imagine the same entrepreneur taking the time to gain clarity. They define their niche, identify their ideal customer, set measurable goals, and design the exact steps required to achieve them. Suddenly, every action has a purpose. Every decision aligns with the bigger picture. Momentum grows naturally because energy is no longer leaking in random directions. It is concentrated, intentional, and unstoppable. Clarity is not just about big picture vision, it's about the next right step. Momentum is built one action at a time, but the key is knowing which step comes next. One of the biggest energy killers in life is indecision. When you don't know what to do next, you do nothing. Or worse, you take the wrong action. That's wasted energy. That's frustration. But when clarity gives you the answer, this is what I must do now, everything changes. Action becomes effortless, decisions become easy, and momentum begins to compound. Now, let's talk about the psychological side of this. The human brain craves certainty. When we have clarity, we reduce internal resistance. We reduce the mental friction that slows us down. Ambiguity creates stress. Stress drains energy. Energy fuels action. It's a simple formula, but it's often overlooked. Clarity eliminates ambiguity, reduces stress, and unlocks the energy necessary for sustained action. And once action begins, momentum becomes a natural byproduct. Momentum isn't magic. It is the result of clarity-driven action compounded over time. Here's an example from personal development. Imagine you want to improve your health. I want to be healthier is vague. It lacks clarity. It's easy to procrastinate because there's no precise target. Now imagine being specific. I will walk 10 Zalozin steps daily, eat 5 servings of vegetables, and drink 2 liters of water each day. That clarity changes everything. You know exactly what to do. You know exactly how to measure progress. You know exactly when you've succeeded. Momentum grows because your actions are precise, purposeful, and measurable. You're no longer drifting, you're moving with intention, and every step compounds toward results. Clarity also eliminates decision fatigue. Every day we make countless choices. Without clarity, every decision becomes a struggle. Should I do this? Should I focus on that? Should I wait for the right time? Those endless micro decisions drain mental energy. But when clarity is present, decisions are simplified. The next right action becomes obvious. The should I or shouldn't I is replaced by this is what I do now. That simplicity frees your mind, conserves energy, and allows momentum to accelerate without friction. Here's a principle that many high performers use consciously: the clarity check. At the start of every day, week, or month, they ask themselves, what is the one thing I must focus on today to make meaningful progress? This forces clarity and aligns every action with a larger goal. It transforms random motion into purposeful motion. Momentum grows not from doing more, but from doing the right things with precision and focus. Clarity turns scattered effort into powerful forward movement. Clarity also fuels resilience. When obstacles arise, when challenges hit, people without clarity get lost, they wobble, they hesitate, they second guess themselves. But those with clarity have a roadmap. They know why they started. They know what matters most. That clarity allows them to push through adversity, adjust when needed, and keep moving forward without losing momentum. Energy that would be wasted on doubt and confusion is redirected toward solving problems, taking action, and progressing toward the goal. Momentum itself is a compounding force. Once clarity aligns your energy, momentum begins to build. Each step forward strengthens confidence. Each accomplishment, no matter how small, reinforces belief. Each decision made with precision eliminates friction and accelerates progress. And here's the exciting part: momentum grows faster the longer it is sustained. Just as a snowball rolls down a hill, growing larger and faster, clarity-driven action compounds. Small, consistent steps become unstoppable forward motion, and energy levels rise naturally as the machine of momentum gains speed. Clarity also creates freedom. When you know exactly what to focus on, distractions lose power. Temptations, social pressure, and noise fade into the background because your purpose is clear. Energy is no longer scattered on trivial things. Momentum grows not only because you are moving, but because you are moving in the right direction. And when you are moving in the right direction consistently, the results follow. Here's a challenge. Take a moment and ask yourself, am I clear about my goals? Am I clear about the next action I must take? If the answer is even slightly no, momentum will always be harder than it needs to be. If your energy feels low, your focus scattered, or your results slow, the problem is rarely a lack of effort. The problem is lack of clarity. Clarity fuels momentum, and momentum fuels progress, energy, and fulfillment. Have you ever noticed how most people wait for the right feeling before doing something important? They think, I'll work out tomorrow if I feel motivated, or I'll start my project when I feel inspired, or I'll stick to my diet if I feel like it. But here's the truth. Feelings are unreliable. They come and go. They are fleeting, unpredictable, and often dictated by circumstances beyond your control. Relying on feelings to drive results is one of the biggest traps that keeps people stuck in the same place year after year. That's why habits over feelings is one of the most powerful principles for lasting success. Habits are the bridge between intention and results. They are the structure that turns fleeting motivation into consistent action. Motivation spikes, feelings rise and fall, but habits create reliability. Habits are the engine that moves you forward when you don't feel like it, when energy is low, when doubt creeps in, or when fear tries to paralyze you. High performers understand this deeply. They don't wait to feel like doing something. They've designed systems and habits that carry them through no matter what. Let's break this down. Imagine two people who want to improve their health. The first person waits for motivation. Some days they feel inspired and go to the gym. Other days they feel tired or unmotivated and skip it. Their results are inconsistent, slow, and unpredictable. The second person designs a habit. They go to the gym every morning at the same time, regardless of how they feel. Some days they feel energized. Some days they feel exhausted. It doesn't matter. The habit dictates the action. Over time, the second person achieves far more because the action doesn't depend on temporary feelings. Habits compound, feelings dissipate. This principle applies to every area of life: career, relationships, learning, personal growth, and financial success. Waiting for a feeling to take action creates procrastination. Acting out of habit creates progress. High achievers don't rely on bursts of inspiration. They rely on daily routines, systems, and structured behaviors that ensure forward movement. This is why someone can be consistently productive even when they are tired, stressed, or distracted, while others who depend on emotion stall completely. Habits over feelings also reduce the emotional weight of decision-making. Every time you rely on motivation or feelings, you are subjecting yourself to the emotional roller coaster of life. One day you feel unstoppable, the next defeated. One day excited, the next anxious or distracted. By creating habits, you remove this dependence. You no longer need to negotiate with your mood, convince yourself to act, or wait for energy to arrive. The decision has already been made. The habit dictates the behavior. This is how high performers conserve energy and multiply results. Let's dig deeper. Habits don't just create consistency, they shape identity. When you act consistently through habits, you start to see yourself differently. Small actions repeated over time solidify belief. You begin to think, I am a person who takes action, who follows through, who shows up even when it's hard. Your feelings then align with your identity rather than controlling it. Motivation and inspiration are no longer prerequisites. They are natural byproducts of who you have become through repeated habits. Here's a practical example: learning a new skill. If you wait to feel motivated to practice an instrument, study a subject, or work on a skill, progress will be erratic and slow. If you create a habit, 20 minutes of practice every day, same time, same place, your skill grows reliably. Emotion follows action. Over time, you feel competent, confident, and motivated, but only because you acted consistently first. The habit created the feeling, not the other way around. One of the most important aspects of habits is that they eliminate reliance on willpower. Willpower is limited. It fluctuates based on energy, sleep, stress, and countless other factors. Relying on willpower to act every day is a losing game for most people. Habits automate behavior, bypassing the need to feel motivated or strong-willed. They make success inevitable because your actions no longer depend on fluctuating emotional states. You design your life once through habits, and then the system carries you forward. Another critical insight: habits overrule feelings, prevent emotional burnout. Motivation is an emotional resource. If you try to push yourself based on feelings alone, you will exhaust yourself quickly. Habits protect you from this cycle. They create structure that doesn't demand constant bursts of energy, excitement, or emotion. By building habits, you work smarter, not harder. You harness consistency over intensity, reliability over chaos. Let's consider another real-life scenario: writing a book. Many aspiring authors wait for inspiration. They hope for the perfect mood, the perfect mental state, or the perfect idea. This leads to long stretches of inaction. Now imagine a writer who sets a habit: write 500 words every morning, no matter what. Some mornings are easy, others are difficult. Some words are brilliant, others are rough. It doesn't matter. The habit guarantees progress. Over months, those 500 words per day compound into a finished book. Motivation may have been inconsistent, but the habit ensured completion. The psychology behind this is powerful. Repeated behavior, even when feelings are absent, rewires your brain. Neural pathways strengthen with each action. Discipline, confidence, and competence grow. Eventually, you don't just rely on habit, you embody it. You become a person whose actions are automatic, whose results are predictable, and whose momentum is unstoppable. Motivation no longer dictates the journey, it simply celebrates the results. Habits over feelings also reinforce resilience. Life is unpredictable. There will be days when energy is low, when challenges arise, when circumstances seem stacked against you. If you rely on feelings, you will fail during these moments. If you rely on habits, you persist, you act regardless, you show up consistently, you adapt without losing momentum. Habits are the scaffolding that supports your growth, even during tough times. And here's the most empowering part: you can design your habits intentionally. You are not a victim of circumstance. You don't need to wait for emotion to strike. You can create routines, systems, and triggers that ensure forward movement every day. Small, intentional actions repeated consistently will compound into extraordinary results. This is the key to long-term success. Stop negotiating with feelings and start leveraging habits. Think about your morning routine. How often do you rely on feeling motivated to wake up early, exercise, or meditate? Now imagine if waking up early became a habit, non-negotiable, automatic, ingrained in your identity. Motivation is no longer required. Momentum builds naturally. The habit ensures energy, focus, and clarity flow into your day. Each small habit compounds, creating a massive impact over time. This principle is the foundation of high performance, personal growth, and long-term success. Motivation may light the spark, but habits keep the fire burning. Motivation may feel exciting, but it's unreliable. Habits are deliberate, predictable, and unstoppable. When you prioritize habits over feelings, you remove the emotional roller coaster from the equation, create consistency, and unlock the momentum necessary to achieve extraordinary results. We all know people who start with passion, excitement, and energy, but somewhere along the way, they fade out. They quit when the first obstacle appears. They stop when motivation dips. They give up when the initial excitement is gone. Why does this happen? The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is rarely talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is commitment. Commitment is the game changer. It is the invisible force that allows high performers to keep going when motivation fades, when energy wanes, and when life throws challenges in their path. Commitment is not about temporary enthusiasm or short-lived bursts of motivation. Commitment is a decision, a conscious choice to take ownership of your life, your goals, and your actions. No matter what, it is the promise you make to yourself that no matter how you feel, you will continue showing up, learning, improving, and moving forward. This is the critical distinction. Talent gets you started, motivation gives you a spark, but commitment sustains the fire through every storm, obstacle, and challenge. Think about athletes at the highest level. Their careers are built not on feeling inspired every day, but on an unwavering commitment to their craft. They train even when tired, they practice even when injured, and they compete even when the conditions are difficult. Motivation might push them out the door some days, but commitment is what keeps them there consistently for years, transforming them into champions. Without commitment, the brightest spark of talent or the most powerful motivation will fizzle out. Commitment creates clarity and focus because when you commit, you make a declaration about your priorities. You decide what matters most, and you align your daily actions around it. This clarity eliminates distraction, indecision, and hesitation. You no longer drift through life based on how you feel or what seems convenient. You focus, you persevere, and you act in alignment with your purpose. High performers understand this clarity without commitment is fragile. Action without commitment is inconsistent. But when you commit, momentum becomes unstoppable. Here's an important insight. Commitment is a choice, not a feeling. You don't wake up every morning feeling fully committed, fully confident, and fully energized. Commitment is a decision you make in advance to persist, regardless of your emotional state. It's a vow to keep moving, to keep learning, and to keep improving even when the path is uncertain or uncomfortable. That decision creates a foundation upon which habits, clarity, and action can thrive. Without it, even the strongest habits and the clearest plans are at risk of falling apart when obstacles appear. Let's consider a real-life example: building a business. Many aspiring entrepreneurs start with a brilliant idea, enthusiasm, and high hopes, but the road is long, filled with setbacks, unexpected challenges, and moments of self-doubt. Those who fail often lack commitment. They quit when the first sign of resistance appears. They stop when results are slower than expected. They wait for easier conditions, better timing, or renewed motivation. In contrast, entrepreneurs who succeed understand that commitment is the game changer. They persevere through uncertainty, push past obstacles, and continue taking action because they have made a conscious decision to see their vision through to the end. Commitment allows them to persist when motivation is absent, when energy is low, and when challenges seem overwhelming. Commitment also shifts your identity. When you commit fully to a goal, you start thinking and acting like the person who achieves that goal. Your decisions, habits, and actions align with the identity of someone who persists, someone who overcomes, someone who refuses to quit. The more you act in alignment with this commitment, the stronger your identity becomes. And once your identity shifts, consistency becomes easier because your actions are no longer a struggle, they are a reflection of who you are. Here's a practical insight. Commitment amplifies every other principle of high performance. Motivation can be fleeting, but commitment sustains action. Action often precedes emotion, but commitment ensures that action continues even when feelings falter. Clarity fuels momentum, but commitment ensures you stay the course when the path is unclear or obstacles arise. Habits can automate behavior, but commitment guarantees that habits are maintained even when life is messy or challenging. In other words, commitment is the glue that holds all other high-performance principles together. Commitment also transforms setbacks into opportunities. Life is unpredictable. Failures, rejections, mistakes, and challenges are inevitable. Without commitment, these moments become excuses to quit. With commitment, they become lessons, signals, and opportunities to adjust, learn, and improve. Commitment changes your perspective. Setbacks are not stops, they are steps. Obstacles are not barriers, they are part of the process. This mindset alone separates ordinary results from extraordinary achievements. Consider the example of personal transformation. Someone wants to lose weight, improve fitness, or adopt a healthier lifestyle. Motivation might get them to the gym for a few days. Excitement might inspire a week of disciplined eating. But long-term transformation only happens when commitment takes over. Commitment ensures that workouts happen even when tired, meals are prepared even when tempted, and progress continues even when results are slow. Commitment sustains the journey because it is rooted in decision, not emotion. Another powerful aspect of commitment is that it allows you to focus energy on what truly matters. Without commitment, attention is scattered, effort is diluted, and momentum is weak. But when you commit to a specific goal, you eliminate distractions, resist trivial pursuits, and invest energy into what matters most. Your actions become intentional, strategic, and aligned. Momentum builds because every step is purposeful. Results compound because effort is concentrated. Commitment also strengthens resilience. High performers are not people who never experience doubt, fear, or fatigue. They are people who continue to act despite these feelings. Commitment allows you to persist even when the odds seem stacked against you. It provides the internal infrastructure to keep going when external conditions are imperfect. When life challenges you, commitment keeps you moving forward, ensuring that small, consistent actions compound into massive results over time. Here's an actionable strategy. Make your commitment explicit. Write it down. Declare it to yourself. Define the goal clearly and commit to seeing it through, regardless of how you feel, what challenges arise, or how long it takes, then design habits, routines, and systems around that commitment. Let commitment anchor your actions. Let it guide your decisions. Let it fuel the momentum that will carry you through every high and low. Commitment is also contagious. When you demonstrate unwavering dedication to your goals, it inspires others around you. Friends, colleagues, and family notice your consistency, your focus, and your resilience. Commitment creates credibility, trust, and influence. The energy you generate by staying committed radiates outward, creating momentum not just for yourself, but for everyone you interact with. Ultimately, the difference between achieving your dreams and falling short is not talent, opportunity, even motivation. It's commitment. It's the choice to continue, to persist, to act, and to show up no matter what. Commitment is the engine that converts potential into results, vision into reality, and action into transformation. It is the unseen force that separates ordinary people from extraordinary achievers. Those who embrace commitment consistently, deliberately, and intentionally create lives filled with progress, purpose, and fulfillment. Remember, progress isn't about waiting for motivation, perfect feelings, or the ideal moment. It's about clarity, habits, action, and unwavering commitment. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to show up consistently. So start now. Take one step, build momentum, commit to yourself and your goals, and every single day keep moving forward, because your future is created by what you do today, not what you feel. Think less, act now.